Hey, hello everybody. I'm John Hampton, the Executive Director and CEO of the MacKenzie Art Gallery. I just want to welcome you to the opening of the 2025 EDAA virtual exhibition here in 2026. I'm joining you here from Uskanika from Regina, Saskatchewan, homeland of the Métis Nation here, traditional territory and contemporary territory of the Nahio, Soto, Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota peoples. As we acknowledge that land here and you acknowledge where you're from, I just want to take also a moment to talk a little bit about digital spaces and sovereignty, and to acknowledge that the land that holds makes all of this virtual space possible. So that holds our data centers, the water that powers and cools that computational power. And I do have a tendency to drag these things on, but we're joining virtually, so I'm supposed to be brief. So I will thank our funders at the Saskatchewan Community Foundation, the Canada Council for the Arts, SaskArts, the University of Regina, the Sask Lotteries Trust Fund for Sport, Culture, and Recreation through Sask Culture, and the City of Regina for their ongoing supports of all that the MacKenzie does. I want to give the biggest thanks to EQ Bank for their commitment to digital art and for their leadership in this award and in this space. We're excited to be partnering with them for the second year in a row on the digital exhibition version of this award show. And we're happy to be building that off of a legacy of digital art here at the MacKenzie, using Detail, the digital exhibitions toolkit and art installation launcher. For those of you that are interested in building shows like this yourselves, we're going to put a link in the live stream chat. And I think it's so important for artists to engage in digital spaces like this, because all forms of our existence, our culture, our politics, our understanding of the physical world is increasingly being shaped online. So our trust in physical reality is being reshaped, and it's vital that we have voices that can explore the nature of understanding and meaning making and how we process information online through creative lenses to take that critical viewpoint. And so very excited to be working with EQ Bank to be showcasing the artists that have produced this, I guess, the next wave of digital art, of exploring what this space can be and how we can think about it differently. So thanks all of you, and I'll pass it off to Lillian.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lillian O'Brien Davis, and I'm the Associate Curator here at the MacKenzie Art Gallery. And I'm thrilled to celebrate the launch of Caldera alongside the very deserving laureates this evening. Tonight, we will recognize their accomplishments as well as spend a bit of time with each of the artists' digital installations. And then the wonderful Kat Blumke will walk us through the entire virtual experience. So stay tuned for that. We will get a glimpse into the fabulous world that these artworks will live in for the next year. And finally, we will celebrate all of the winners together. So stay online for a tight hour. We're all ready to go. Yeah, we'll look forward to what's next. So I'm going to hand things over to Annalisa Signani, the CFO of EQ Bank.
Oh, thanks, Lillian, so much. And thank you to everyone here for joining us. This is the 11th edition of the Emerging Digital Artists Award. where tonight we're celebrating the 5 recipients of the 2025 prize, in addition to the launch of the Caldera virtual exhibition. For those of you who don't know, the Emerging Digital Artists Award began in 2015 under a really simple premise. EQ Bank was launching as a digital bank, and we felt it would only make sense to expand our support for the arts to digital artists. We quickly discovered that digital artists were facing unique challenges, and at the same time, were pushing the boundaries of artistic practice. So we established the award to champion their work and encourage a new generation of digital artists to create in virtual space. 11 years later, we haven't looked back. Each year, we're delighted to see the critical, experimental, and inspiring artwork submitted by emerging artists across Canada for consideration of the prize. I want to honor the founder of this award, Andrew Moore, our former CEO, who championed the arts at every juncture of his tenure with EQ Bank. I'm thrilled and honestly privileged to be carrying his torch and continuing his legacy of creative risk-taking and genuine support for the contemporary art and artists in Canada. I want to thank our exhibition partners, the MacKenzie Art Gallery, for generously hosting this hybrid exhibition launch and virtual award ceremony. We're grateful to be collaborating with your expert team to bring digital art programming to new audiences locally, nationally, and globally. So I'll stop there. I'll pass this over to Shannon Lindy, EQ Bank Senior Curator.
Thank you so much, Annalisa, and hi, everyone. So just a few more thanks. First off, this is our second year working with the MacKenzie Art Gallery on bringing the award-winning works to life virtually. And so very grateful to this team, in particular, Kat and Brendy, who produced the exhibition, Lillian, who was my co-curator, and to Allison, who supported on the marketing and promotion front. So thanks so much to this team. It's been really lovely working with you. I also want to give some thanks to the folks who made this award possible this year, starting with Adrienne Matheuszik, who contributed a series under the name Caldera, which ultimately informed the look and feel of the 2025 prize. We ended up using this virtual environment as a way to stage the virtual exhibition that we'll see tonight, so more on that later, but thank you so much to Adrienne. I also wanted to thank our 2025 jury, comprised of members of the digital art community from across Canada, Bomi Yuk, Ria McNamara, and Maxwell Lander, who together with Lillian O'Brien Davis from MacKenzie and Alex Bowen from EQ Bank, had the difficult task of reviewing submissions from across the country and ultimately deciding on this wonderful group of artists who are receiving the prize tonight. I also wanted to thank our other partners. So in addition to MacKenzie, we've worked with Gallery TPW in Toronto to host an in-person exhibition that just closed last week. That will be touring to Art Windsor Essex this spring. So thanks to the team at Art Windsor Essex as well. I also wanted to thank our media partner, Black Flash Magazine, and together all of these partners who really make the award a robust one that ultimately honors digital artists. It advances their careers, but it also helps spread the word about the award and connects new audiences to digital art. Lastly, I do want to congratulate and thank the 5 artists who are joining us tonight, the recipients of the 2025 prize, Laura Caraballo, Alex Gibson, Eva Grant, Cadin Londono, and Kahani Ploessl, who are all in attendance. I want to thank them for embarking on the journey of adapting their work for virtual space with this team. I hope that it's been an enjoyable experience for you. It definitely has been for me. And now I'd like to invite Lillian back up so we can introduce the theme for the exhibition, and then we'll go into individual artist projects.
Thanks, Shannon. As Shannon mentioned, I had the pleasure of being one of the jurors who reviewed the submissions for the EDAA award this year. And from the winning selections, I was very impressed by the radical creativity and imaginative approaches that each of the artists engaged. We pulled from this selection of artists where these are pre-existing works, and we were imagining and describing this as sort of like backwards curation, where you're sort of drawing inspiration from what these projects already are offering. And we were pulling out themes such as yearning, memory, and dislocation, and then noticing how all of these artists envision speculative futures that resist contemporary political trajectories. So we envisioned the site of the caldera that Adrienne created for us as this site of transformation where you can pass through it and you come out hopefully on the other side transformed and energized to keep going. So each of the artists has dared to imagine a world that's expanded, altered, and glitched, and ultimately hopeful and inclusive. So as John noted in their remarks, these artists represent a promising future for digital art. So it's a warm congratulations to all 5 of them.
And I'll just add a little bit about some of the concept of the broader exhibition. So we definitely took advantage of both the concept and kind of aesthetics of Adrienne Matheusik's virtual environment. So Caldera is essentially a luxury spa set in a post-apocalyptic world. And we've positioned all of the individual artworks like unique spa experiences within Caldera. And so instead of your typical spa experience, which might be gentle and pampering, the kind of worst thing you experience is a cold plunge or like a eucalyptus branch hitting you. In this case, we're asking visitors who are ultimately spa goers to think about confronting difficult subject matter, reflecting on the past, again, might be quite uncomfortable, moving their bodies, being overwhelmed by chaotic sound, and ultimately taking actions that they wouldn't have done before. And so our goal for this is to sort of bring audiences through this luxury spa, and by doing all of these experiences, you kind of transcend to a new plane of existence and one that will better prepare us for the difficult future that lies ahead. So now we'll take some time to go into each of the individual projects, i.e. all of the recipients or winners of this year's prize. So starting with Laura Caraballo, who is the 2025 EDAA recipient in the XR category. Laura is an interdisciplinary artist born in Bogota, and based in Chichage or Montreal. Her award-winning work is entitled Nome de Moro, and it's an interactive space that encapsulates the experience growing up in a Colombian household in the 2000s. Prompted by nostalgia and the immigrant experience and heightened by the architectural similarities between Bogota and Montreal, visitors navigate through a 2-level immersive experience which yearns for a time and place that can't be revisited. So welcome, Laura, congratulations. I wanted to ask you a few questions about your work. So first off, the piece speaks really beautifully to a personal sense of longing that is likely shared by many who can't revisit their home that they might have left a number of years ago. Could you talk a bit about the strategies that you've used in this piece to bring your personal memories to life and also engage audiences who might not have the exact same specific references that you have?
Hi, Shannon and everyone. Thank you so much for the introduction and for the opportunity. It has been really a pleasure to work with everyone in the gallery, and this experience in general has been super rewarding. About the project, I think that when I was developing, it started with like some of my childhood memories that I wanted to reconstruct. But it became kind of like a place where I want to encapsulate a bunch of like iconic like and cultural symbols of Latin America, and like especially like in this temporary or like this in this moment. And so I added everything in there to create like experience of like childhood, like nostalgia, memory. And then I think that throughout like the exhibitions that I have held, both in Toronto and Montreal for this project, I came to realize that like many people can relate to this project because I think it just like encapsulates like childhood memory. And I think that maybe that's what like how people in general experience art. They just kind of like see themselves in the things that they interact. Yeah, so I think that's my experience with the project.
Wonderful, thank you. I particularly love the Powder Puff Girls bedspread. I recognize things that resonated with me, and there's probably a bit of an age difference and background difference between us, but I really appreciated that. I'm also just curious about the technical aspects of how you created this world. It's really rich and wonderful and has a lot of texture to it, and what your journey was into VR in general.
Yeah, my journey into VR actually started because in my early practice, I had a conjoined practice with my sister Valentina, and we started practicing like the public art. So we did a bunch of installations, and like a lot of the projects were too deep. But we were kind of like keen to start working with like 3D like sculptures and installations. And so I thought like I wanted to teach myself all these tools. And so I started with SketchUp and then like moved to Blender. And yeah, like through like kind of like playing with these softwares, I kind of like found myself really loving it. And after that, I like jumped into like Unreal Engine, which was like the first software that I ever learned for VR. And thanks to an opportunity in an organization called EDAA in Montreal, I was able to develop this project in VR. So yeah, that was kind of my journey with these tools.
Wonderful. Well, I hope you continue in it. You've obviously picked it up very quickly. Thank you so much for speaking about your work and congratulations again. So I am going to pass it back to Lillian to introduce our next artist.
Thanks, Shannon. So Eva Grant is our next artist. Eva is a Statlia Eurasian filmmaker, writer, and artist based in British Columbia. Her award-winning image series, Exquisite Machines for Making Anything But Children, is a collection of digital forms that offer a virtual space for healing. Presented as a speculative counter-anatomy, following the artist's miscarriage, the series cuts the cord between reproduction and utility in a society obsessed with viability. Exquisite machines do not produce children. They are a surrogate for futures the world is not yet equipped to carry. So congratulations, Eva. Thanks for joining us. And we have some questions for you. So first of all, this series is impactful in both seducing and repelling the viewer. Can you talk about some of the choices you made in creating each object, including reference materials or any inspirations that you brought into the project?
Hello, everyone. Hi. Thank you so much for the question, Lillian. I want to definitely, honor or speak to that tension that people feel when they look at these organs. They're often described to me in a binary: gorgeous and scary, unsettling, comforting, seductive, repelling. And I think when I was crafting them, I was very focused on their ability to serve, not as a reflexive mirror necessarily of social anxieties or tendencies related to sexuality, fashion, class, race, gender. I saw them more as a diagnostic tool. The way that people look at them and the feelings that the organs provoke in them are strong, stronger than I had ever intended, especially when it comes to the disgust, the grotesque, the feminine. I truly never saw them that way, and I suppose that's because I processed and metabolized along with them for a year as I was living through a miscarriage and fertility treatments and reproductive issues that followed. When it comes to I'm interested in the way in which I think they are repelling. Is it an interesting play on the seduction? Is it unprompted mutual attraction in which we participate? Because I wonder why we act like obscenity, let's say, is less in the flesh and more in the systems that consume these. As reproductive organs, they are policed, commodified, silenced, and now in this exhibit, they're both pedestalized and placed on tenterhooks in an abattoir. So I did want to explore that interesting tension, and yet I think in a digital world, it's interesting to collapse the two, but the feeling is exactly the same to me, and I'm happy to share that with other people. We're promoting a feeling, right? But the organ, feminized as reproductive architecture, is actually a very, very thinking being. It's causing you to feel something and then hopefully reflect up here.
Thank you so much, Eva. And you talk about sort of how these designs, these objects are installed in Caldera. And so I wondered if you could speak a little bit more about what it means to you to translate objects for virtual space, and what possibilities were you provided in doing so? What might have come of this transition?
They're very imaginative works from the get-go. I don't posit myself necessarily as an engineer or an industrial designer. I would sketch them preliminarily and then model them using digital 3D software. Mostly, I just spent a lot of time touching leather, clinking chains together, watching the way that sun would reflect off pottery, and then I would shut my mind off from it and go. I think the material is fascinating. To me, it is seductive. What shines, what holds, what would clink. But I'm more interested in exploring the medium, not the material. And I very much see these organs not as the material themselves, but the substrate matrix, and my own process through coming to realize the many different ways, like why I was making these, what they were for, what I was trying to say about society, which all came down to a lot of declensions and antithesis in the end anyway. It's more about my own inquiry. That has been the process that has been most important to me, and the ability to share it with others. I think it's very funny that their path to the virtual exhibit was sketch on paper, 3D object, virtual photography, and then back to 3D object in a virtual space. I think when we're able to collapse those ontological frameworks, we can actually build sites of encounter like the room, which I'm very excited to share with everybody.
Thank you so much, Eva, and congratulations.
Thank you all. I'm so honored.
And I will hand things back to Shannon for our next question.
Thank you so much. So I'd like to welcome and introduce our next 2025 EDAA recipient in the moving image category, Alex Gibson. Alex is a Barbadian-Canadian interdisciplinary artist based on the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations, also known as Vancouver, BC. Their award-winning animation, Untitled Passage, features a 3D scanned 1 kilometer stretch of land along Barbados' east coast. The work offers a slow and methodical approach to a geographical survey and considers shifting notions of scale and perspective. In this work, conventional bearings are disoriented and colonial cartographies are disrupted to reimagine Caribbean space outside of familiar narratives. So welcome and congratulations, Alex. Your work is beautiful in its seeming simplicity. That's something that stood out to the jury, but it's hardly a simple work. Both the concept and the technique that went into it are obviously very complex. I was hoping you could tell us about some of the technical aspects of creating this work. For instance, how were you able to capture this specific landmass that's constantly in flux?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm very honored to have been considered for this award, and I'm excited to be here. Yeah, for the work itself, as an image-based artist from the Caribbean, I'm always kind of questioning photography and images in general. And, photography has this like sort of problematic history of being a purveyor of truth. And then that coupled with being from the Caribbean, the images that we see of our land and our culture is usually through the lens of tourists or advertisements. So that the image sort of like or experiences are flattened through the image. So that was something that was kind of on my mind as I was doing this sort of performative, experimental image capture, where I was just using applications on my iPhone, like very accessible tools. They're architectural tools, they're designed to capture space digitally and then translate that data to be then analyzed. But I kind of like did the opposite, where I made the image not be able to work for itself or in these sort of like straightforward ways. It can't then just be translated into a readable space. So taking the image of the Caribbean, for instance, and completely disorienting it, thinking a lot too about just spatial recognition, and being a queer person from the Caribbean as well, like thinking about queer spatiality in this region that oftentimes you feel quite disconnected from. Yeah.
Thank you. That's really beautiful to hear a bit more about your approach to this. I also find it really interesting because I've seen all of these works installed in physical space. In your work for virtual space, you've chosen to really implicate the audience members. So we're meandering the shoreline. And then at the same time, we're also able to look up and see it mirrored back at us. And I was hoping you could talk about sort of the rationale behind these choices, and like what's afforded you in this virtual space that you can't do by simply showing it in a physical space.
Yeah, totally. I think the opportunity to have this digital room exist with, or the work becomes a part of it. I was really trying to immerse people within that disorientation. The room sort of like takes on this like chroma key blue that is present in the video, which has a deep history in like film editing as well. The idea that, the background can be edited out, and it's like this potential, like anything could exist. And I think, yeah, they're confronted with the digital object, but then they see the video work below them and above them. I think we're used to seeing landscape images or photography as this sort of straight ahead human perspective. So thinking about the opposite of projecting that image in reverse back onto the viewer.
Yeah, it's very impactful. I really like the way that it extended in this exhibition. Thanks for giving some background on that. Thank you again and congratulations. And I'll pass it back to Lillian to introduce our next artist.
Thanks, Shannon. Next, we're gonna talk to Kahani Ploessl. Hi, Kahani. So Kahani is a dimension-bending tech artist based in Markham, Ontario, but I think this evening you're not joining us from Markham. Do you want to share where you're signing in from?
Yes, I am coming from Thailand, so I am in the AM. This is a
You're in the
morning
AM.
stream.
That's amazing. Okay, yes, we're all very jealous. So Kahani's award-winning video game installation, Virtual Shiva, is an exploration of the cosmic depth of generative spaces, drawing from Hindu philosophy while referencing the language of contemporary gaming, decolonizing the term avatar to take on its original spiritual significance as a physical manifestation of Lord Shiva. Shiva embodies not only the force that brings endings, but also the one who clears the way for renewal and transformation. Within this cosmological framework of technological Hinduism, glitching is reimagined as a generative act and dissolution as the ground for regeneration. So really powerful, such fantastic language there. And for me, when I think about glitching, I also think about the conceptual framework of glitch feminism, which is like a contemporary feminist movement that reclaims the concept of the glitch, often seen as an error or disruption in technology, as a powerful tool for challenging and redefining gender identity and social norms, or societal norms, sorry. And I was wondering if you could talk about your relationship to the use of glitch in this work and expand on some of the language in the description.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that wonderful introduction to me and Virtual Shiva. And I'm so honored to have this work be recognized and to talk about it more. As an artist, conceptualizing the glitch and experimenting with the glitch is a major source of inspiration and interpretation in my body of work as a whole, with Legacy Russell's glitch feminism manifesto being a significant personal influence, and a lot of the language draws from that. Virtual Shiva is a real culmination of all these glitched ideas coming together in concept, practice, but especially spiritually, as the piece so beautifully harmonizes with my Hindu culture, where Lord Shivji gets to enact these glitches, as the god of destruction, becoming the playable instantiator of glitches within this hybrid reality. But to speak a bit more broadly, at least to start from, of how I see glitches, glitches may be commonly thought as an error, but it's really not, or at least I make a point to not see it that way and not speak of glitches in that way. It may be unintended or unexpected or unproductive, but glitches are not some all-ending wrongness in its world. It is just as much a result of its program as anything else its code has been scripted to create. So it's with this lens or approach to glitch making where Virtual Shiva really organically came about. I didn't kind of go into this project with a pre-planned idea. It evolved in tandem with some really small pieces of code that I let evolve and glitch and kind of inform itself in what it wanted to be, as far as how you interact with digital space and finding meaning in how glitches can be represented. And so that's kind of how Virtual Shiva came to be. It was a really almost a collaborative process with whatever impetus there is into instantiating a glitch. And I think that is just such a profound notion for something to exist without there being the intention for it.
Thank you. So this work has a really clearly articulated sort of physical installation. So I was wondering if you could talk about what it was like to translate this work into something that can be experienced virtually, and maybe you could talk about some of the decisions you made alongside Kat to translate or recreate the work in its virtual form.
Yeah, it was such an interesting process because while the installation, very much its physical orientation and approaching it in physical space is a important part of the work, but interestingly so, half of it also exists as a virtual piece. So the parts of the project that you would assume would be the difficult ones to adapt versus the easy one, being the physical components of it being difficult. It actually was kind of the reverse, interestingly. So Virtual Shiva in physical reality exists as these two video games that play off of each other. One is a projected virtual space and another is a series of CRTs. So when it came to imagining it purely virtually, it kind of was just as simple as placing one game into the other. And I kind of like how simple that ended up being, or how the piece kind of continues to reference itself. But it was really interesting to see how virtually it was actually kind of difficult to conceptualize this Caldera virtual space, kind of now nodding towards my own virtual space, and they're truly virtual spaces in different fonts. One is a bit more multiplayer. It has a core environment that everything kind of lives within. And my virtual reality is you enter as a very specific character, and that's how you interact with the world. So I think it's really interesting as virtual reality kind of expands, or this dimension grows and expands in and of itself as an ecosystem, how these different virtual realities reference each other, or look into each other, or find bridges between each other. In practice, virtual realities kind of are their own siloed universe. So it's a really hard process, creating that integration between the two. But I think it is really, really cool to imagine that and see that evolve in and of itself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kahani, and congratulations. So I'll hand things back over to Shannon to continue on.
Thank you so much. So last but not least, I'd like to welcome and introduce our 2025 EDAA recipient in the 2D interactive category, Cadin Londono. Cadin is a Colombian game developer born in Medellin, Colombia, and based in Chicago or Montreal. His award-winning video game, El Cumbiatron, prioritizes experience over achievement. Inspired by the diversity of cumbia music and dancing styles across Latin America, it combines visual and musical expressions to represent the chaotic beauty of a Latinx club. El Cumbiatron acts as a digital party for all Latinx communities to gather, particularly those who have lost freedom of expression, third spaces, and connection to the motherland. So welcome, Cadin. The jury was really taken with the work in for so many reasons. One in particular that stands out is the graphics that are really compelling. Can you tell us about your decision to employ an early video game aesthetic versus something more contemporary for this work?
Yes. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for your question, Shannon. It's been such an honor to be a recipient of this award. It's been such an amazing experience, so thank you. Um, for your question, I think that this decision to make it more of like a retro type game was because I wanted to explore what it would be like to make a game, like create a fantasy of an alternate history for video game development. So most games from the 80s were made either in the US or Japan because it was very expensive to make, and it still is very expensive to make at a certain scale. But I wanted to see what it would be like if like there was like a video game company in Colombia and they decided to make a game. And then what would the game be about and what would the game look like, you know? So I wanted to explore, you know, like the game, like something like cumbia music and these like very much Colombian aesthetics and how it would look like in like 8-bit. Yeah.
That's great. It's so nice to learn about that, this kind of like speculative history of your video game. The gameplay is really unique as well. So in addition to the graphic choices or the aesthetic choices, there's also this overwhelming feeling and you're in a constant state of movement and it's a little bit stressful, but ultimately very playful and rewarding. So as a game maker and artist, can you talk about some of these decisions you made to create something that's very playful versus competitive?
Yeah, so the decision to make it more like a playful experience rather than a competitive, um, it came from because like games have this really interesting thing where like they'll make you care about something that you wouldn't really care about and outside of the game context. So when I'm playing like for example Monopoly, like I don't consider myself a greedy person, but if if I'm playing Monopoly, I'm like trying to buy as much property as possible. But so I wanted to design this game as around like making the player care about, you know, being in this ambient, being in this club, moving around, being like very much like playful and not so much about like scoring points. And there is like a little bit of a challenge to the game, just to add like a little bit of mechanics in the game, have this very traditional, like you get better at it the more you try. But it's very much about like the ambience and being yeah, just hitting all the right notes at the right time and just enjoying yourself, you know, just like at a Latin club. Yeah.
It's so fun. The reward is just more dancing, basically. You're rewarded with more. Um,
Exactly.
Thank you so much, and congratulations again. So now I'd like to actually welcome everyone back on camera. We can kind of all gather together, and I'll also welcome and introduce Kat Bloomkey, who is working behind the scenes to kind of navigate through tonight, but also is one of the two producers of this exhibition. Thanks, Kat, for all of your work. So I want everyone that's with us tonight just to join us in congratulating these 5 recipients on their incredible works. Just really, really astounding. Every year we're blown away, and this is just, yeah, incredible. So nice to have everyone together. So each of these 5 artists will receive a $5,000 prize for their exceptional work of digital media. And in addition to opportunities such as this with the MacKenzie Art Gallery to show their work to a range of audiences virtually, they also participate in a group exhibition at Gallery TPW in Toronto and soon to be opening at Art Windsor Essex in Windsor. The artists also receive an annual subscription to Pilot Art List, which is a monthly newsletter with paid opportunities for artists. And last but not least, one of the 5 artists will be featured in the fall 2026 issue of Black Flash magazine, receiving mentorship support from the editorial team there to produce and present an artist project both in print and online. Black Flash magazine is a publishing platform for contemporary art that was founded in Saskatoon in 1983, making it one of Canada's longest running magazines, let alone art magazines. And they're doing incredible work in the field of promoting lens-based work as well as digital work. The Black Flash team solicited pitches from each of the artists for consideration for this publication. And they did relay the difficulty it was to select a single recipient because the proposals were all incredible. So thanks to everyone for submitting. So I'm very pleased to announce tonight that the recipient of this opportunity is Kahani Ploessl. Congratulations, Kahani. So Kahani's project, which is currently titled brush.jpg, stood out for its originality and also its adaptability to both print and online contexts and will be included in the fall 2026 issue. So please look out for that. Thank you again to all the artists for submitting, and we're really excited to see what this project looks like. So keep in touch. And so, yeah, I think at this point, we will pass it over to Lillian and or Kat to do some closing remarks and to kind of leave everyone off in a place where they can explore the exhibition on their own. And we really encourage you to visit this exhibition. It's on until the end of December of this year, so come back again and again, and please tell everyone you know to also experience the works. So over to you, Kat and Lillian.
Awesome. Sorry, as I'm
Oh,
just,
Kat, I think you're on mute.
I'm not on mute for them. There we go. Sorry, folks, as the person who's taking everyone for a ride, as well as directing the stream, and then wanting to show you how to access the project yourself on the gallery. Just needed to finagle things a bit. Thanks so much for having me on screen as well. I know I've been with the artists kind of mostly on the back end of things. It's been amazing to work with everyone here, and Brendy Lehman, my collaborator, on putting these works together. And so the folks on the stream are going to see right now how to access things. I know some folks in the chat have already discovered the exhibition for themselves. Thanks so much. No need to wait for the guided tour. But as Shannon mentioned, it is the project, the exhibitions, they're all there for you for the duration of the rest of the year. So if you do go on to MacKenzie.art, like our website, you'll just be able to see like that front. We've got it on the front carousel, so click to learn more. It'll take you to a post that has all the information about the artists that you've learned today, and you can click down to view the exhibition through there. Now, this opens up to a page, like a landing page, good old splash page for the exhibit. You can learn about the artists and their projects as well. And it just has a bit of a technical suggestions for how to access the project. This is a WebGL file that runs in your browser. So we do suggest using Chrome for the memory, which just means that it's going to take a little moment to load. And also there's a little widget up here which you can click just at the top of your toolbar. Just that once you've clicked to begin and start into the project, just make sure that you're enabling third-party cookies, because we're essentially downloading a game onto your browser temporarily. So if you look at that, just enable the third-party cookies. Don't worry, we're not keeping any of your data. We just want you to enjoy the art. Then you're going to log on, something that you, seeing some familiar spaces. You go through this onboarding session, select an avatar to experience the volcano spa Caldera as, just type your name in there, choose how you'd like to appear for this trip through these experiences, and then you'll just be able to log in and click start. And for those who have already been exploring this evening, I welcome, feel free to email me, let me know what you think, send communications at MacKenzie, just some feedback, because I know I've had fun, and I hope all the artists have had fun. So back to you, Lillian, for closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Kat. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in this evening. Please keep an eye out for next year's call for submissions and circulate it to other amazing artists that you know. Thank you so much to EQ Bank for their ongoing and enthusiastic partnership, in particular, Shannon Lindy. It was such a pleasure to work with you. Thank you to my colleagues at the MacKenzie, specifically Allison, who has been working tirelessly from the communication side to bring this project to life. Thank you to Kat Blumke and Brendy Lehman for developing this wonderful project. And thanks to our friends at the Hatchery for supporting this project online. And thanks to all of you in the audience. Pat yourselves on the back for your ongoing support for digital art. We'll see you in the Caldera.